Okay. Let's see.
And the chair invites Becky to call roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabrales?
Here.
Commissioner Emerson?
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Here.
Commissioner Lauman? Okay. Absent. Chair Machado?
Here.
Commissioner Reisinger?
Here.
And Commissioner Sandoval?
Here.
I'll invite Becky to explain how the public can participate in this evening's agenda.
Good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through our Zoom or by telephone at 669-900-9128. And the meeting ID is 857-8558-0921#. If you are watching this meeting through Zoom, please select the participants button and select raise hand if you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, please press *9 when it is your turn to speak, and you will be notified by the host they are inviting you to participate, and you need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you're unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
All right. Are there any amendments to this evening's agenda?
There are none.
Okay, there are none. So the first agenda item is to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 21. Does anybody have any comments in regards to the meeting minutes? And it's open for public comment. Becky?
Okay, yeah, again, if you were watching through Zoom, please select the raise hand button if you wish to speak. Okay, go ahead, Chair.
What would you like me to talk about here? And are we talking about the meeting minutes, right? So I need a request to approve those meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move to.
Can you state your name before you make that motion? Am I saying that correctly, Susan? Are we asking the commissioners to state their name before they make a motion?
So what would be helpful is one of two things. Either the commissioner can state their name that they're making the motion, or they make the motion and then either the chair or Becky repeats what the motion was. That, for example, Commissioner Andrade Wax made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Young, and the vote was 5-0, or whatever the vote is. Either the chair or Becky can do it.
All right. Commissioner Sandoval.
Right, Commissioner Sandoval, I move to approve the meeting minutes.
And may I have a second, please? I need a second, commissioners.
I'll second, Commissioner Gutierrez, I'll second that motion.
All right. Any further comment? Hearing none. Becky, would you like to conduct the roll call vote, please?
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Cabrales.
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson.
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yes.
Chair Machado.
Aye.
Commissioner Reisinger.
Aye.
And Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Susan, are there any introductions, awards, recognitions, or presentations at this time?
Actually, there is, I would like to, hang on one second, I'm sorry, there's something else coming up here. Yes, I would like to recognize 2 awards actually, or an award that was presented earlier this week. We had our employee recognition yesterday, and 3 of our department staff received awards. And one of them happens to be on this conference call tonight, and it's Catherine Kufa.
Nice.
Now, although this person is not in our department, I feel like this person is a part of our department and is definitely a part of this meeting tonight. And Catherine also shares the same category of an award with Thomas Wong, who's also on this call tonight. And in addition to
Cheers.
them, we also had 2 individuals in our department in the library. Maria Rentieres, she received an award, as well as Gabby Farias. She also received an award and recognition. So just want to mention that. We're very proud of them.
Well, congratulations. All right. So moving on, are there any people, public out there?
There is
Becky?
one.
There's one. Is there
Yeah,
any
there
comments?
is one, Galaxy J7 Star. There's not a name attached to it, but we do have one person in the audience today.
Can
I
you
invite the public to comment if they would like.
And again, if you are watching through the Zoom, please select the participants button and press raise hand if you wish to speak at this time.
Becky, you might also want to give the phone call-in information. Galaxy's J7 Star sounds like it might be a phone.
Okay, great. Yeah, so if you are participating through telephone, please press *9 when it's your turn to speak, and you'll be notified by the host to speak at that time. And the phone number to call in is 669-900-9128. The meeting ID is 857-8558-0921#. And again, press *9 when it is your turn to speak, and I'll notify you to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Becky.
Sure.
And I'm not seeing anything. So moving on to the next agenda item is to review and approve the location of the social justice public art installation at Barber Park.
So thank you, Chair. I'd like to
Yeah.
introduce Thomas Wong. He's an analyst with the City Manager's Office, and he will be presenting the item tonight.
Terrific.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you for that introduction, Susan, and for the acknowledgement of the award, and congratulations to Catherine as well on that award. Good evening, Chair Machado and commissioners. Thank you for providing me this opportunity to present tonight. My name is Thomas Wong, and I'm an analyst with the City Manager's Office. And I'm also joined tonight virtually by my colleague, Ali Judici, who's a planning manager with Community Development. I'm here tonight to present the Terra Linda Public Art Project. This project is being proposed by the San Rafael Social Justice Community Art Group. In the summer of 2020, a chalk art mural honoring the life of Breonna Taylor was placed along the railing of the bridge at Las Colinas Avenue and Manuel T. Freitas Parkway. The mural was placed to bring light to the tragic death of Ms. Taylor, which occurred in March of 2020. The chalk mural was subsequently removed by the city per policy prohibiting markings of any kind on public property. In the fall of 2020, the San Rafael Social Justice Community Art Group formed as a response to the chalk mural art and a desire to continue to promote the social justice message it represented. The core group includes 11 art and community members who live and work in San Rafael and is facilitated by Lorenzo Jones, a member of the city's 8 Can't Wait task force. The group is also partnered with Youth and Arts, a San Rafael nonprofit who brings organizational expertise, as well as ensuring the youngest members of our community will have an active role in this project. The goals of the project align closely with the purpose and goals of the group. The first goal was to create a streamlined art process, a goal that we are getting closer to achieving after getting approval from council on February 16th to create a pilot streamlined process. I'll discuss more about that in a little bit. Moving on to our second goal was to create an art installation that celebrates equity, diversity, and inclusion. Third, to create art that heals and brings hope and unity to the community. And lastly, to ensure that the art process itself provides an educational and awareness building experience for the community, with special emphasis on our youth generation. A call for artists was developed by the group and issued on January 15th. The call was sent to local art groups, schools, and other parties that may be interested. The call was open-ended in terms of the type of art, so as not to limit the creativity of artists. The call for artists is open to all San Rafael and Marin community adult and student practicing artists. Groups of artists may apply for the project as well. Applications are due on March 15th, and the installation is proposed for the spring of this year. For more information on the project or learn how to apply, anyone can visit our website at cityofsanrafael.org/public-expression for more information. The proposed location for the art installation is Arbor Park, a small parkette owned and maintained by the city at the southwest corner of Freitas Parkway and Las Colinas Avenue. The location was picked due to its proximity to the original chalk art and because of its central location to the community in Terra Linda. The park consists of a few benches, a walking path, landscaped areas, and a drinking fountain. It is frequented by pedestrians and is highly visible from the roadway. On February 16th, staff took an informational report regarding the Terra Linda Public Art to City Council. It was an informational report only and no approvals were requested at the time. At the same meeting, an ordinance amendment was proposed and approved by City Council. This ordinance exempts from environmental and design review any public art project that undergoes review through a separate review process established by the city for that purpose. In this case, that separate review process is the pilot public art program, which is made up of the Public Art Advisory Group. The Public Art Advisory Group is made up of community art representatives and one member each from the Planning Commission and Design Review Board, as well as a representative with expertise in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Additionally, ad hoc members are included when required. In this case, Chair Machado has agreed to represent the Park and Recreation Commission on items that pertain to parks like this project. It is important to note that this is a pilot program, and if it becomes permanent, this commission will have the opportunity to select alternate representatives if so desired. Looking at our next steps, all advisory group meetings will be open to the public. Chair Machado, as the Park and Recreation ad hoc member, will provide updates to the commission, and the advisory group will make a recommendation on the artwork and provide that to council. While an exact location has not been selected in the park, the advisory group will work with Chair Machado to determine the best location depending on the type and size of the artwork once selected. Until those have been established, a suitable location cannot be determined. Council will hold approval authority on this project, and the pilot program will run through the end of the year. After, staff will review the process and present lessons learned and recommendations to council on any potential changes at that time. With that, we are requesting feedback and comments tonight, as well as your consideration for approval of Arbor Park for this social justice art piece. And I want to thank you for your time tonight. And Allie and I will be available for any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Thomas. Any of the commissioners, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves and do you have any comments in regards to this project? Commissioner Cabrales. Oh,
what's the sign? So I drove by there a bunch and saw the sign and saw all the people gathered around it. And I'm wondering, what's the art piece that it's going to be? I'm just curious.
You're referring to the original chalk art or just some of the signs?
Yeah, because I saw the art, I saw the chalk art, and then I saw the people around it, and and then I didn't even realize that was a park there, honestly. So that's a new discovery for me.
So the chalk art originally was on the bridge that was adjacent to the park, and just right a couple of feet away from that is Arbor Park, just a small parkette. And so the actual artwork itself hasn't been selected. The call for artists is open right now and is open through March 15th. So it could be anywhere from a mural to a sculpture. The group really didn't want to limit the creativity and really the possibilities of what the public might want to, or artists in the public might want to present. So they will evaluate that at that time. I can tell you that based on the feedback that we've gotten so far, we have gotten a few requests or requests for additional information for people that are interested in painting a mural. So that one seems to be popular, but again, it could be any type of art.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lama, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. You answered part of my question. I guess I was curious about who will determine the size and content that's allowed in the pilot program.
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, it was rather open-ended, and it was really up to the artist to kind of specify what they wanted to provide. But at the end of the day, the advisory art group will be the ones to determine what is the suitable size for any project, as well as the location. So again, that group is made up of Chair Machado here, as well as a member of the DRB Planning Commission and community art members. So that time they will have a chance to make sure that the size of the artwork and project fits the scale of that location.
I'm sure permanence is an issue there too. Thank you. This is a great project. I'm happy to see that the county is considering public art on public property.
Commissioner
Thomas,
Emerson.
oh,
Go ahead. I'm
Thomas,
sorry.
can you clarify that once the Public Art Advisory Committee makes a recommendation, what the next step is for the approval of the actual art and how it's selected, if it goes to
Sure.
planning or if it goes to city council?
Sure. So after the advisory art group makes a selection or selections, all of those will go to city council and be heard at a regular meeting of the city council. At that point, city council will have full authority to approve the project and or amend or reject the project. So in this process, this new pilot process, that part doesn't change. Council always held that. But in a previous process, it did go through design review board. As well as something I didn't mention was that there was a additional fee for presenting these type of projects that was over $8,000 at the time. So that has been waived for this pilot process to try to help streamline it and encourage more applicants.
I have a question.
Thank you, Thomas. Commissioner Gutierrez.
It seems like the pilot program has been given kind of a wide berth to kind of operate. Are there any concerns that like all the applicants are going to come up with something that's not feasible, or is there something? I read through all the documentation, but I didn't click on the application itself. Does the application itself have any sort of limits to guide people size-wise or other?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I guess I'll answer first is that the advisory group, we have to keep in mind, will be looking at projects throughout the city. So not only this Terralinda project. So they will be in this project specifically the San Rafael Social Justice Art Group, which released the call for artists, is working with the artists beforehand to help them prepare for bringing that before the advisory group. They are actually going to select their top couple of choices, kind of pre-vet them and then present them to the advisory group. So they are working with the artists right now to kind of set boundaries, even though it wasn't kind of determined. I can say that there was a public meeting yesterday with the group that that was mentioned, and I think the sizing did come up, and I think there are a couple of creative solutions to make sure that the size fits. One of them I heard yesterday was using vinyl to print the artwork if it was a mural, and then it could be scaled to any size, so it wouldn't limit the artist per se, and it could be sized accordingly based on what the advisory group and council thought was proper. So even though there are no bounds on that particular project, there is a lot of back and forth, and there'll be a lot of opportunity for both members of the advisory group, council, and this group, as well as the public, to comment on what the appropriate size is.
Thank you. It sounds great. I'm curious if the pilot program or the advisory group, I guess, is concurrently hearing or considering other projects, or is it just like, let's focus on this right now, this is the only one?
Yeah, there were actually two projects that were brought before council for an informational report, and those two are the focus of the pilot program right now, and they're using those two projects to kind of put it through and make sure that the process is adequate. And so the other project that is going at the same time as this Terralinda project is in the canal at 3301 Kerner Boulevard, which is a building owned by the County of Marin, and they are proposing a mural on the side of that building.
Thank you.
Commissioner Emerson, do you have anything that you'd like to comment on? No? Commissioner Reisinger.
Yes, hi.
Hey, I see your hand there.
Yes, haha, fancy, right? Let me see if I can lower. Okay, there we go. I actually have two questions. The first one being a question, or has anyone brought up concerns about if the art piece will be lighted in the evening? I do live close to that park, and there's already concerns with homeless gathering in that area. And having worked in this field, and once there are lights in a nice park area with benches, then that does kind of become more of a beacon. So wondering if there's any lighting conversation in terms of at night with the art piece.
That hasn't been determined yet. That's, I think, going to be dependent on the type of art that's selected and where it's located. That has come up at that kind of topic, and it's something that will be considered by the group. But I think it's a great point that you make about making sure that whatever we provide is making sure that the neighbors there, it will work for them, and being kind of mindful of some of the homeless population that are around.
Great, no, and thank you. And I just want to make sure I am in support of this project. It's just, there has been an increase in homeless, especially in that specific area. So just being considerate, and I'm very glad to hear that's already been taken into consideration and aware of. My second question comes to equality in terms of the artists submitting work. When they are submitting work for the application and the committee to make a choice, will their ethnicities and demographics and names, any identifying factors be blocked out, or if you will, so that the people who are choosing the artwork basically choose the artwork based on the artwork and not on any other outlying variables?
Great question there. The call for artists that was published and can be found online kind of outlines that. In the call for artists, they do state a preference for a BIPOC artist. How that's going to be weighted, I'm not sure that's quite been determined, but the group itself in the call for artists did want that to be somewhat of a focus. While anyone can apply, there was going to be a little bit of weight given to BIPOC individuals.
Usually also in a call for artists, there is references that are usually requested as part of the call for artists, prior experience, to make sure that that person is well versed in providing that artwork, whether it's a sculpture or a mural, that they've done this before.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners? I have a question in regards to, so we've began accepting applications in January. Is that what was done, Thomas?
Correct. The call for artists was opened in January 15th.
And how many have we received so far?
I think the group received 2 probably notices of interest, but I don't think anyone has formally applied yet. So they're working through the application process. Pardon the fire truck that just drove by, but they're working with the group right now to kind of answer some of those questions about size, and kind of going back to the size thing. The size of it, the size of the artwork was brought up in terms of being a protective area for potential homeless to congregate. So that again was considered, but we haven't received an official application yet, but we expect that to be forthcoming.
Is are we constantly or continually promoting this on a social media platform, or?
Yes, it's been continually promoted. The city has promoted it on its social media platforms. Some of you may have received information through Nextdoor, but the group itself has been working hard to reach out to schools, educators, as far as Marin City, really throughout Marin County, and really reaching into that art community to make sure it's been known. I think flyers went out at local art stores, and both in Spanish and English. Postcards have been printed and have been handed out throughout the community.
Great, thank you. That's terrific. Anything else, commissioners, that we want to talk about? No? And this is just for advisory, so we're not asking for a motion or anything. Am I correct in regards to that, Susan?
No, I think Thomas has the motion that he's looking for, which is he would be requesting that the commission approves kind of globally that Arbor Park is approved by this commission for future placement of artwork in regards
Okay.
to this project.
Terrific. So commissioners, you've heard what the ask is, and can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the use of Arbor Park for said purpose.
Commissioner Lahman has made a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And
Commissioner Sandoval, second.
Has made a second. So thank you very much. Becky, will you call the roll call?
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Cabrales,
Yes.
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lauman,
Yes.
Chair Machado,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
All right. So the next agenda item is park maintenance status report for September 2020 through January 2021. And who's making that presentation?
So actually, I would like to introduce Hunter, if Hunter will come on. Hunter is the Assistant Director in Public Works, and I'm going to let him introduce one of his new staff.
Thank you, Susan. With me tonight, Commissioners, is Ryan Montes. He's our Operations and Maintenance Manager who leads all things maintenance for Public Works. And he's going to present what he provided in the staff report.
Thanks, Hunter. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you virtually. As Hunter said, I'm the Operations and Maintenance Manager for Public Works, and I oversee the Parks Division. Though I will say the park supervisors do a lot of the organizing and planning, especially of the things that I will present to you. Share my screen. Let's see. Somehow. Give me 1 second. You guys see that? Okay, so some of the completed, some of the completed projects for the past couple months. We did a large tree planting for Arbor Day on McInnes Parkway, as well as on our Windward Way lot. So the Parks Department, with assistance with community volunteers, planted over 100 trees along McInnes Parkway and the city lot on Windward Way through the Cool Parks program, which is like a grant funding through Cal Fire Urban and Community Forestry. The trees that were selected were high carbon sequestration to take full advantage of the carbon offsets. So below you can see some of our staff unloading the trees. That is at our Windward Way lot. And then below that, you'll see some of the volunteers planting the trees at the end of McInnes Parkway. It all had to be planned out, you know, as far as social distancing. Everybody checked in with an app for screening wise. I believe the fire department was involved too, helping out. So if you go along McInnes, you'll see a lot of new trees down there. And we'll continue to water those until they get established by hand, because we don't have any irrigation out there. We also did pickleweed field restoration. So Park staff aerated, fertilized, seeded, top dressed, and dragged the field. And they watered that at 75% until the rains arrived. So you'll see the park staff loading sand into the spreader and then spreading it over the field. And below that, we have some Alberts Park field renovations. They're still working on this. The work included installing some underground irrigation around home plate and in the infield areas, rebuilding the mound, resodding some of the infield edging, aerating, fertilizing, seeding, and top dressing the rest of the field. So you'll see our staff laying down the sod in the first photo. And then below is a picture of the underground irrigation around the mound. And they're still doing some work out there. And then just some ongoing maintenance. The Terralinda walkways, been working, there's 21, I think, about out there, and going through weed eating, pruning the trees, shrubs, things like that. So you'll see our staff weed eating, pruning, tree trimming. We get a lot of requests for those, especially tree trimming along there. So there's a lot more to that than what we do, but those are some of the highlights, some of the bigger projects.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ryan.
Any questions, perhaps?
Commissioners?
Commissioner Sandoval?
Yep.
I think you may have mentioned this. Who decides, where to place our resources with various maintenance projects?
For the ongoing maintenance, the supervisors handle a lot of that. Like the field restorations, they pretty much just observe the field, see what it needs. I know they've had irrigation issues at Alberts Park. I think that's why they kind of decided to, tackle that project. But the supervisors do a lot of that work.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioners? It feels like that we're on the verge of a drought. And being that it's so dry, are we doing anything in regards to preparing for that?
No, I can't say that we've thought of too much into that yet, but it's definitely something we're going to have to look into. We might just have to cut watering. Basically, there's not really any easy solutions to that. A lot of our parks and fields have old irrigation systems, so we really got to watch the systems when we do turn them on for leaks and things like that, just to make sure we're not wasting any extra water through leaks and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge if we don't get any more rain.
Right. It just feels like it's going to be tight this year.
Yeah.
Commissioners, anything else? Commissioner Lauman.
I have a question about what has the impact of COVID been on parks and park maintenance? It seems like, in a lot of ways, people are using the parks. In a lot of ways, people are also just staying home and not going to playgrounds or not going out to different places. So has there been a difference in, for example, how the parks have been managed or how they've been maintained, or what the COVID impact has been on use, and then the impact to the facilities themselves, and whether they have weathered this year or there's been issues?
They were closed for a while, the bathrooms in the parks, but people would, tear down the caution tape, and so weekly our guys would have to go up and retape all the parks while they're closed. Everything's open now, but we still maintained. We do twice a week inspections and maintenance to all the parks. So pretty much kept that up the whole time. When the bathrooms reopened, we did our twice weekly cleanings of the bathrooms and things like that. So Really didn't change much. Definitely they got used less, so maybe a little less wear and tear, but yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Reisinger. You're muted.
Sorry, trying to get that screen to unlock. My question is about, has there ever been any thought or discussion about putting up like little signboard kiosks in some of the playground areas where like the parents congregate that might be used as like marketing with, you know, QR codes to your brochures or discounts or flyers for events and everything? I know that does add some staff time to switch things out, but I'm just thinking some of the parks that are closer to community centers or facilities where, you know, staff are more regularly.
I know we haven't thought about that, but that's a really good idea. Definitely something to look into. I think we could probably handle that with assistance from the people at the community centers, the staff there.
Thank you, Ryan.
Great, thank you.
We have,
As a mom myself, sorry, I just find myself sitting on the benches a lot, talking to people and looking at stuff. So would be happy to be looking at something that you guys want to sell me, an activity or a project or something.
That's a great idea. Commissioner Cabrales.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, I know you said you'd done some maintenance to Albert Park, have you done any to the softball field or just to the main field?
I think the softball field as well. I think they replaced all the clay and all that out there. But I don't know if it was as extensive as the baseball part. Okay. I do think they did some restoration of the entire field, and I think some minor stuff to the softball side.
Okay. And then also I was just wondering, just because I just realized that with the parquet sort of Arbor Park and the last thing we were talking about, and then you were talking about the trails or the walkways in Terra Linda. And I guess I had thought I was really familiar with all of the parks, but now I'm kind of curious as to like, what are the other walkways and parquets? And I didn't realize that you guys were maintaining the walkways too. And are there other areas like that? And I kind of would like to know about them.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say, that's a really great question. As we're going to embark on the Park and Rec Master Plan, one of the things that is a component of that is to take the steering committee, which will be eventually comprised, to help guide the process. And once it's awarded, you usually go out with your architect and your steering committee, and everybody's, you know, allowed to come. And what you do is you go out to all of your facilities and become much more familiar with them and assess them. So when that steering committee comes back and they're getting feedback from the community as to existing facilities, maintenance levels, or kind of that wish list of what they want to see, everyone has the same baseline and knowledge of the different parks, trails, facilities, and kind of, you know, the condition that they're in. So the good news is that's right around the corner.
Great. Yeah, I was just curious. I know those Terra Linda walkways, and I was like, are there more somewhere else that I don't know about too? And so, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'd also like to add for Ryan, the maintenance that they've done on the Pickleweed field and Albert Park field this year, there's a couple of blessings with COVID. One is everything was shut down. So often you get unwanted use. You have people hopping fences, especially during the inclement weather, although we didn't have much. And often they make a mud bowl out of our grass. And so the beautiful thing here is that staff were able to go in there, deep tine aerate, do topsoil, reseed, resod, and the fields are still closed, which gives those little root systems the ability to go kind of hog wild, grow. And what that means is during a drought, it will take less water to keep that grass going. If you go out there and you allow too much use on it right away, you can't water it enough to keep it alive. So we were so thankful to him and his crew for doing what they did out there during the time when nobody was using it, because when those fields open up relatively soon, they're going to have a fighting chance to stay as green as they are looking right now.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Hunter. Do you have anything more for us?
Hunter does.
I do. I've
Hunter?
got kind
Okay.
of phase two. This is a 2-for-1.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you so much. Let me dig up my item here and I'll share my screen with you. Okay, hopefully everybody is seeing that by now. We've had the last quarterly report that I was able to provide to the commission dates back to October of 19. So it's been a while. With the pandemic, we've kind of had to shift resources around. And so we haven't had nearly as many projects, but we have embarked on several items that I wanted to report out onto the commission. One of the major projects we had, this goes back a year and a half ago or so, was some park playground improvements over at Pickleweed Park. We replaced the parking or the park structure itself, the slides and swings and whatnot. We've done some other amenity upgrades since that time. One on the screen before you is some barbecue work where they took off the top and replaced the table with concrete. There's some other amenity elements as fencing around the playground structures itself. You can see we've done some picnic table work and some soil dressing on top to just kind of dress things up and make it a little prettier. So Pickleweed Park has gotten quite a bit of attention over the last couple of years. And a lot of this funding for this particular work is grant funding that we get. It kind of comes through the county, but ultimately is some federal money. And so it's been put to great use in this particular community. Now, in terms of active projects that I'd like to report out on, this one is one that has been in prior report outs to the commission. This is it's down in the Marine Rod and Gun Club, for those of you who know where that's at, down by the bay. We've got a park bathroom that's been closed for some time. There's not been really any significant movement in the last year on this. A lot of our staffing and resources has gone towards other projects and also in response to the pandemic itself. So it's still around, but not progressing significantly. Another project that was part of our capital improvement program were replacement of some of the modular buildings at several different sites. However, because of the pandemic and the constrained resources, this particular project has been put on hold. And so we will resurrect this as funding becomes available. We did have an architect who was ready to get going on it right as the pandemic kind of onset, and we realized that those resources were needed elsewhere in the city. A new project that is just kind of in its infancy is Sun Valley Park. We have an opportunity with a per capita grant fund to assist in replacement of some playground equipment, as well as some ADA access improvements. We do not yet know exactly the granular details of what is going to be touched outside of the playground, but we are in the process of retaining a landscape architecture firm to provide some conceptual designs. We'll be doing some public outreach with that, and we'll be returning back to the commission for some feedback as well. So look for that later as this year kind of rolls on. That we're quite excited. I don't remember the exact dollar amount that we have earmarked for construction in terms of grant funds, but there is quite a bit, and we'll be required to put in some local match money as well to make this project whole. So we're excited to kind of get this one off the ground. And again, we'll return back to this commission for some future input. Returning back to Albert Park Field, which has been the recipient of a bit of tender love and care, we've got two different projects at this location. The top photo is, it's not great, but up against that blue painted wall, we intend to put in it's an external ADA ramp. We would like, or we're required to provide equal viewing access for those who are disabled that are able to get up and into behind the bleacher area. And so we're going to be kind of repurposing some of this mixing area where these gentlemen are standing in your photo here with the intent of an ADA ramp that will allow access for all parties. In conjunction with this, at one time in the past, we did want to install some ADA restrooms. We considered repurposing some of the existing restrooms under the bleachers. However, after consultation with some staff and understanding, working with, we did receive a couple of proposals from architects. We realized that from a financial perspective, that was just going to be extremely expensive. So we have since repurposed or pivoted the project to include prefabricated restrooms. We have the bottom picture on your right is a rendition of what we intend to purchase. And we'll be doing so within the next few weeks where we purchase that. It's got about a 6-month lead time. The intent is to have this unit installed later this fall. And that way we can make sure that we have usable brand new restrooms for those who are patrons to the ball field. So we're excited about that. We're currently working with an engineering firm to do some design work for that and to make sure we have all of our utilities ready to go for when this portable bathroom just arrives, or it's not portable, but when the bathroom does arrive, they will then have a crane where they just hoist it right into place. So it's quite a neat operation to see. And then in terms of proposed projects that are noted here, our capital improvement program has included a little bit of funding for some Bristol Park restroom repair. And then an ongoing item here that's listed are some miscellaneous repairs and things that are necessary down at the B Street Community Center, the San Rafael Community Center. Knowing that there may be some other future work there, we're actually kind of hitting the pause button on that just at the moment to see how things pan out. But those are the major items that we've been working on in Public Works. The next item that Susan actually mentioned earlier is releasing a request for proposals. We would like to retain a consulting firm to assist with the Park and Rec Master Plan. That is going to take an enormous amount of time and resources, both in terms of staff time and financial resources, to really get a roadmap in place for future improvements across the city. So we're excited to get going on that one this year as well. And with that, I would turn it over to the commission for any questions they may have.
Thank you very much, Hunter. That's a great presentation. So commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Cabrales.
I'm curious about the bathroom that's going to be for the baseball field, and how are we making sure that it is not a homeless shelter, really? Like, I know that they put a bathroom in the park by my house, and it's really become kind of a place for that. So
it's definitely a struggle. This particular area, we understand that certainly has been an issue in the past. The locking mechanisms on the door will not be standard. We're working with our public works maintenance crews to understand what success they've had elsewhere around the city. There will be some additional fencing that will be modified to accommodate this bathroom area, but we don't have plans to do anything that is kind of makes it look like a jail, so to speak. We're not looking at barbed wire fencing or anything of that nature. So that is a delicate balance between needing, and not just needing, but being required to provide this ADA accessible bathroom, and the issues of those experiencing homelessness wanting to use it in off-peak hours, you could say. So it is going to be something that we kind of have to monitor. Our public works crews, and Ryan is still here, but his crews are very well aware of some of those very issues where you open the door and surprise, there's somebody there. So we will have to monitor that. Susan, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
I would love to. So one of the things, I'm not sure if it's really going to help much, but it is slightly different than some of the park restrooms in that it will be within the fence of Albert Park. So it's not going to be, we've had obviously temporary restroom facilities at Boyd Park and at Albert Park, and they get vandalized and they get used inappropriately. This structure is a little bit hardier. It is probably similar to a giant version of what you just saw installed at Bret Hart, but it is within the fence line. So we're hoping that helps somewhat. And like Hunter said, the ADA requirements of that stadium, which was built in 1950, obviously ADA wasn't required back then. We are required to have restrooms that are accessible. And the room underneath the stadium really didn't allow for expansion of existing restrooms to the capacity that we actually need. So we could have enlarged them, but we couldn't have enlarged enough of them. And this, the restroom facility that we're looking at has 3 units. So they are obviously gender neutral and they will be accessible. And there's 3 of them. So that's fantastic. And we wouldn't have had that. And then the ramp is required as well, because we didn't have a way for people who needed access to get up to the grandstands at all. So we're extremely excited about this, bringing that 1950 stadium into 2021 standards.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any other comments or questions for Hunter? Commissioner Gutierrez.
The ADA ramp up to the stadium, once they get to the stadium, is there ADA seating? Isn't it just on the level of the walkway, or is there something I'm missing?
No, at some point there needs to be some accommodations up in the bleachers to provide some ADA seating. That there was a little, there's a steel plate that's open for that. I don't know that we don't have plans right this moment to retrofit the stadium for that purpose. But there needs to be some thought. There needs to be kind of a next step. Someone in a wheelchair, though, could certainly occupy that space, and therefore it satisfies the ADA in terms of providing an equivalent viewing area.
What we're hoping for, and it's probably, for a lack of a better term, I'm going to kind of borrow 2 visuals that might be helpful. When you do take the existing staircase up to the viewing area, there have been tables and chairs randomly put there for press box, right? And so those would be the areas that would be accessible for people that have wheelchairs. And then hopefully we would have the ability to have some kind of locking mechanism like you do when you use a wheelchair and you are going up into an accessible vehicle, like a paratransit vehicle, where it could possibly lock it down so it doesn't roll. So that really is kind of our intent of getting them up to that viewing level. Prior to this, the only access people had that were not able to access the grandstand were out on the field level, which is actually quite dangerous. So we're really excited the fact that people can go up and enjoy a game with their families, and it is behind a barrier that protects everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And thank you for the report. It was really interesting. Good to hear.
We're very grateful for Hunter. I've got to plug, because honestly, we can't do anything without Ryan and Hunter and all of their staff. We are completely dependent on it. So this love is definitely biased, and we are just extremely thankful for them. And as much as COVID's been going on and nothing's going on, right? They don't sleep at all in the Department of Public Works. They are probably as busy, if not busier, than fire and PD and the rest of us. So as you can tell by the laundry list of things that they've accomplished during this time and what they've got going, it's, for them, COVID doesn't exist. It just makes things a little bit more difficult and challenging for them. But they have been ramping up and working extremely hard. And once again, I'm excited because when we finally get to open up, a lot of these facilities have been given a lot of attention and care during this time. And so we're very excited for the public to come back.
I have one more question.
Go.
How do you guys, what's the internal delineator for, like, so Ryan was talking about maintenance projects and Hunter, you're talking about new projects. What is how do you guys decide which is, because that Albert Park resodding was pretty big deal, but I noticed it's in the maintenance side. I'm just kind of curious.
So I think in general, I would say the engineering group is the one group that works in consultation with other staff across the city, cross-departmentally. We create what is called the capital improvement program. Capital improvements, then, San Rafael does not have like a minimum dollar amount associated with a particular project. Some cities would say anything greater than 100,000, we will consider a capital improvement. And if it doesn't, then they'll call that maintenance. We don't have quite the same line in the sand approach. But anything that is of significance that would require one of our engineers to manage that kind of a project, then that would stay in my group. Anything that is something that is necessarily led or managed or implemented by maintenance staff and their technical expertise falls kind of, I would say, defaults to them. And so it isn't a matter of them versus us. Sometimes there's been that history in public works or in other cities, it's engineers versus maintenance. I really think San Rafael prides itself on not necessarily having that. We work quite well in an integrated fashion. But the reality is you don't need an expensive engineer to run a sodding program. You need someone who understands the legs of that. And we try and make sure our resources are going right where they should. And so I think we do that fairly well, but sometimes you're right, there is kind of a gray area right in the middle where it's not always quite so deliberate as who should take the lead. And in that case, sometimes Ryan and I will talk and say, well, who's got more bandwidth to do this given the time right now? And sometimes he'll take the lead on something that I need help with, and other times I'm happy to take that off his plate. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
One of the things also that Hunter is about ready to kind of take the lead next week with all of us is every year at this time of year, the capital improvement project program is reviewed. So any projects that are currently in design or construction, we review them as a staff in total to make sure that everything is kind of going. And then we look at the next year and what those projects are. And as an entire city, there are individuals that represent each of the departments. They come together, they suggest and propose new projects. They rate them based on codes like ADA, safety and health issues, and they're rated that way. And then we also look at the available funding for each and what those constraints are for the funding, like Measure A, which is under your purview. There's Measure A funding. There is money that comes from the general fund to help fund the building projects as well. So all that is balanced. And the great thing for this commission is you actually get to weigh in quite a bit of that. So in a few months, we're going to come to you and make some recommendations for consideration for Measure A, which will be going forward. Most of those have already taken place. I mean, most of them you already know because they're big. The Park and Rec Commission has already approved the Park and Rec Master Plan, and that's $200,000 project. So that's a biggie. We talked about Sun Valley and Prop 68. You guys already pre-approved that, so we're going after per capita funds for that. 2 years ago, you approved the use of Measure A funds to start designing and start working on the city's ability to apply for Prop 68 grant funds for the Pickleweed field and renovation and amenities. And we're about ready to submit that application as well. So if some of those things start getting approved, our projects are pretty much laid out for this commission for the next few years, but there's some minor ones that Hunter just talked about, like the Gersel Park renovation of that bathroom and some smaller projects that also will have some funding attached. But Park and Rec Commission, you're actually going to be pretty busy in the next couple of years. You've got some big projects, especially if Pickleweed gets approved. If we get that grant, those are some hefty projects for this city to be doing at the same time. So we're real excited, but I just wanted to mention that because Hunter just asked for all of our input citywide for all the different projects, and the poor guy, you can imagine the wish lists that are coming across from every single department. And, you know, we only have so many resources that go around, but we have our own pot, which is called Measure A, that nobody else can touch. So we're real excited about that.
Thanks, Hunter, for all the hard work that you guys are doing. I got a question for Ryan. Ryan, you still there? The question to you, Ryan, I've seen so many lawns torn up by raccoons this year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just like UFOs come down and just like blown the whole thing up. How do we have any issues like that in our parks?
Not that I've heard of.
Really? Okay.
No, well, maybe they don't tell me about it. But yeah, that's the first one for me.
Yeah, they like the grubs. They go after grubs, and so you have to heavy fertilize them. And I can tell you what I've seen people do. You know, everything from whirligigs, they stick those little things that you blow on that turn around. I've seen lawns covered with them at certain times a year to, you know, because they move and they spook people. And then I've seen them leave on their lights or turn on their sprinklers purposely in certain times of day.
Okay. My neighbors, her lawn's been taken up twice. So I just like, anyhow, yeah. I thought I'd ask a pro. Anyhow, any other questions, commissioners, for these gentlemen who are doing such great work for us? Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you so much, Hunter.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Take
Thank you,
care.
guys.
All right. On to commissioner reports and comments. Susan.
Well, this is for the commission, so maybe at this time you'd like to call on the representatives from either the Pickle Advisory Committee, or you would like to call on the Library and Community Center Conceptual Design Committee and see if they have any type of updates.
Pickleweed Advisory, Ariel? Is that you or?
It's Kat. I'm the backup.
Oh, Kat.
I don't know if there's been a
Yeah,
meeting.
we have, it's on March 3rd, so next week. So
Okay.
I will have, and then the last one was in December that I was unable to attend. So looking forward to it.
Actually, Kat, that the meeting next week has had to be canceled because I'll forward you. I thought you might have been on the email, but everyone's BCC'd, so you can't see. Unfortunately, well, I don't know. Unfortunately, there's 3 vacancies on the Pickleweed Advisory Committee. And the city council, with the appointment of a new city council member and other items, they haven't had the ability to hold interviews yet for those vacant seats. So the Pickleweed Advisory Committee doesn't have quorum at this point. We're hoping, I think at this point, the interviews are scheduled for sometime in March. And if that's the case, we're going to try and organize a special meeting for April so we don't go too long without a meeting. But Kat, I'll forward you that email from Steve.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate it.
And library commissions?
I'll let Kayla take it because I was late. Very.
Let's see, I didn't make anything formal. I will just say that it was a really interesting meeting. We were meeting with the architecture group and talking about sort of the orientation of the building and how we would want to address the parking, the parking areas for the new building and the approach, like, do we want to have it come from the same direction parking, or do we want to try to have a new approach to the building? And just sort of talking about the general idea that it's the same square footage for the rec center, but that the library will be an expanded square footage, and how they might fit together in terms of one entryway or 2, and it was pretty basic in that way, but it was a very interesting conversation. We have another meeting coming up soon, I think.
Next week?
Next Tuesday, Wednesday, the 4th?
The Thursday afternoon. So
Did I cover it? I'm sorry, it's the first time I'm doing this, so
Yeah.
I got everything.
Well, it was very interesting. I actually thought that what was most helpful was, who was it from the city that was talking about the rezoning of the area around just north of First Street? And kind of what that community may end up looking like in the near future, because they're talking about I guess condos or apartments, sort of a block south from those ones that are going in now on. So it was just interesting. I did not know that, and it certainly changes sort of the area. Could change the area.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any other reports from conferences that any of the commissioners have gone to?
I can give a quick update about vaccine and essential workers, because that's new for COVID, if anyone's interested.
Yes, we're interested.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
So as you know, it's been a year of COVID, but we started dispensing vaccine in December, first to healthcare workers and emergency people, and then 75 and up, and then 65 and up. But next week we're moving on to essential workers. So it's meaning food service and childcare. Yay. And also schools. So, teachers. So, the rollout is, we're working really fast. So the type of enrollment that's happening for next week at our super pod will be like a secret link that's sent to the childcare worker group, or the grassroots group, but it will grow over time. So we're super excited. that that's happening. And so there will also be sort of, what's the right word, equity more efforts. So that we'll be partnering like with Canal Alliance to have mobile vaccination there for just folks in the canal that are food service workers or childcare workers. And also just working more on the global in our super pod at the Civic Center to have people who meet those criteria come and get vaccinated. So in terms of vaccine, you know, I've seen the rates go way down just in the last month or two, just based on vaccine. We've already vaccinated 20% of Marin population with at least 1 dose, which is amazing. And then, you know, 9% maybe with 2 doses. You know, everything is entered in a vaccine registry. So we have pretty good data on, you know, that whole piece. So we're excited, and I'm sure the city's excited for the childcare workers and teachers and, you know, food and agricultural sectors. And so the next phase of rollout will be based on comorbid conditions. So people who are 64 and under, but might have asthma or diabetes, they will be able to do vaccine. And the best way to get in the know about what you're, you know, when you can get the vaccine is through our vaccine interest form, which it's on our website, and it's a, you know, it's a form that you go in and you can just say who you are, exactly your email address, your phone number, and you put it in there, and then you'll be contacted. There's people on the back end mining this data, and as appointments open up, they reach out to those specific populations for that. The only thing I also have to add is that, you know, we recognize that there's people who do not have good digital access. And so we're also working with a call center to get both inbound and outgoing calls to help people actually register online for these appointments, people who are digitally challenged. And Marin Community Clinics at the Canal campus is doing walk-up vaccine registration, I think Monday through Thursday, 1 to 3, for people who meet these criteria. That, you know, it has to be 65 and up, 75 and up, or, you know, food service, ag, or childcare workers. So it's exciting. Yay.
Thanks,
Especially
Cicely.
since restaurants are reopening. Be happy everyone's getting vaccinated, right?
I think we're all happy to hear if anybody gets vaccinated, right?
Yeah,
it's good-
we're
it's
working
good for
really
everybody.
hard. You know, it's warp speed, but, you know, and the communications are coming as we go, but we're doing our best.
It's awesome. Anything else, commissioners? Okay, Susan, do you
Okay,
have a
great.
report for us?
We have several things that we'd like to bring to your attention.
Okay.
So San Rafael Age Friendly Task Force, they've been working with the city council since 2017, and the city became an age-friendly city in 2018. And immediately thereafter, the task force embarked on developing a strategic action plan. Myself and another staff person were part of their group to help them with the community-wide survey, with a lot of the different resources that they needed to put that together, as well as providing funding along with Marin County. They have completed it, and it will be presented to the city council this coming Monday night for kind of the first review. So it is a draft. They are going to do the presentation. They did all the hard work. So they will be doing the presentation of the age-friendly strategic plan. They will also be making recommendations to the city council regarding kind of the priority of the first things that they would like the city council to be considered for implementation or inclusion in the city council's annual goals and objectives. So that's going to happen on Monday night, depending on the feedback that they receive from the city council. They will go back if they need to revise the plan at all, they will, and then they'll bring it back a second time to the city council so it can be accepted formally. So that's very exciting. And Cecily, I can tell you it's working because my entire age-friendly group is the only one who's like, I'm 2 in, and I'm like, I got nothing. So they're so excited. They're like, open up everything. I said, well, you're going to be kind of alone for a while. You know, we'll give you keys to the building. So it's funny, you know, like the rest of us are going to be still at home, and, you know, they go, it's great to be over 80. We can rule the world now. So it's kind of, you know, poetic, right? So they're very excited about everything, and I can hardly wait for them to do the presentation. They're kind of giddy with anticipation, to be quite frank. So that's very exciting. The other thing that we wanted to bring to your attention, and I'll let Catherine chat a little bit about it, is, as you know, we were bringing the community garden guidelines to you last month. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to align two gardens as much as we can to be consistent kind of with our practices and make sure that we don't have, you know, kind of different rules for different things unless it really makes sense. So, you know, same kind of application period, the same kind of basic guidelines for each of the operations of them. And we're trying to do that. Well, there's a lot of feedback. And so what we would like to do, if anyone on the commission has an interest in community gardens, we're actually asking you to be part of the community conversation with some of the stakeholders. They're very interested in getting together with us and to give us feedback as to their concerns with some of our proposed guidelines and maybe some of their suggestions and recommendations. And we think there's great value if you know, maybe one or two, can't have more than that because then we'll have a quorum, but not necessarily having a part other than to really witness the conversation and maybe ask clarifying questions so you have a better understanding of kind of their feedback. So as we go through this process, you can help us guide the process and it will reflect what the community really wants. So we wanted to ask you tonight if there's any, you know, it's not a formal subcommittee because we're not really asking you to appoint anybody, but if there's one or two of you who would like to be included in hopefully our very first Zoom call with them or a Teams call with them, we'd love to hear from you.
Kat has her hand raised.
I
Kat?
would love to be part of this group if possible.
All righty, well, that sounds great. We've got somebody
And
else who's interested. Either
Commissioner-
that or you have questions.
Commissioner Cabrales, you got a hand up?
Yes, I'm interested. I'm wondering how many discussions are there going to be?
Catherine, can you maybe shed some light on
Would
that?
estimate about 3. We've got a group of the folks that were kind of most vocally concerned that we're trying to meet with. We'd also like to meet with the current, so most of the concern is at Terra Linda Community Garden. The folks from the canal were kind of on board with this. So the outreach is really going to focus on the canal gardener or the Terra Linda gardeners. So we would like to also meet with the current steering committee of Terra Linda Garden. And then we would like to host kind of an open meeting for all gardeners. So at this point, that's kind of the process we're thinking of going down. As we go, we might need to schedule follow-ups or find other groups we want to reach out to and schedule meetings with. But at this point, those are kind of that's the process we're thinking of.
I'd be happy to join that.
So Commissioner Cabrales and Commissioner Reisinger
That's great.
are stepping up.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
And I think prior to we're still trying to schedule a first meeting. And prior to that, we'll send over some more background information, kind of, you know, all of the feedback we've gotten and actions we've taken since then.
So that's basically it for right now. As our commissioners have mentioned, our next meeting with the library and community center conceptual design plan is next Thursday. So it's a quick process, so it's going to go pretty quickly. And we're hoping to also include something that wasn't originally scheduled, which is a site visit of Albert Park. I think our two commissioners are very versed on Albert Park, but I think they also recognize that on that last call that we had, there are a lot of individuals associated with the Library Foundation, the Friends of the Library, or the Library Board of Trustees, who aren't as familiar with the site and kind of the logistics and the orientation of things. And we thought it might be helpful for them to kind of walk it and really get like, oh, so this is the auditorium and the connection to the garden, and you know, this is where people enter, and here's where the parking impacts are and things like that. So they really do have a better understanding when we have dialogue. So we're excited about that as well.
I'm sorry, do you have a date for that, were you saying, or is that to be?
I think what we're going to be doing is we've already had a conversation with Nolan Tam, who's the architect for this project, and asked them if they could look into some possible dates. And I'm hoping, and we'll get confirmation early next week, that they're going to bring it up at next Thursday's meeting to possibly schedule it between the next meeting and this coming Thursday and the following meeting. it won't be a mandatory thing, but it'll be for people who are interested, who want to walk the site and just kind of make sure everybody's on the same page. It's similar to what I explained about the Park and Rec Master Plan. And so everybody has a basic understanding. So when things are talked about, people don't have to say, where's the field? You know, because that that can take a while trying to, you know, visually orient people when they're not familiar with the site.
That's a great idea. I'm glad we're doing that.
And-
Are you done, Susan?
I'm done. So I was
Okay.
going to send it over to you.
Yeah, I just want to give a few updates, kind of some exciting new program developments with the county moving into the red tier this week. We are starting to reopen some of our indoor classes. So that's really great. We've been kind of, you know, going back and forth between Zoom and outdoor where we can, but I know especially like our Terrell into Ceramics participants are really excited to get back indoors. We have some other classes. Marin Juniors will be coming back to the Borough Community Center and some other indoor classes that will be opening. Additionally, we're excited to announce that starting next Friday, we will be having our first in-person art exhibit at Falkirk since last year. With the red tier, art galleries are allowed to open, so we will be open at 25% capacity, and the Falkirk will be open from 10 to 1 on Wednesdays and Fridays, and 1 to 5 on 10 to 1 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 1 to 5 on Wednesdays and Fridays. Additionally, starting in March, the Terra Linda pool will be opening for limited weekend lap swimming, as well as to support the Terra Linda orcas. So that's all good news, all slowly going in the right direction, but getting more and more programs back up and running.
Hey, Catherine, quick question in regards to lifeguards. I saw that there was a call for lifeguards. Is that all happening, or do we have enough, or what's going on?
We always need more lifeguards.
Okay.
We have part of the reason why our hours are limited is based on staff limitations. Many of our lifeguards are school age, college or high school, so it's tricky finding staff during the weeks until we get into summer. So a lot of what we're able to offer is limited by staff availability.
Got it. Okay. Any questions, commissioners, for Catherine or Susan? Is that it, you guys?
I think that's it. It's up to you whether or not you want to adjourn or just keep us all in here for a family call.
Go get a cocktail. No, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:24. It's adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here this evening. It was a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good work.
You.